very educative videos that help students or learners to be able to do the right things as students prepare for their examinations and to pass examinations with success. In today's video, we are going to share 10 mistakes that candidates or students make in the examination hall that goes a long way to affect the mark or the marks they obtain after answering exams questions. We believe that these mistakes and the suggestions made will help you as a student to be able to do well in your exams. If you are ready, watch this video to the end. Now, the first mistake that students often make in the exams hall, which goes a long way to affect the marks they obtain, is students providing incomplete answers or answers that are not conclusive. What this means is that you have provided a good answer, all right, but the answer is not self-explaining, or it lacks some of the important information needed for you to obtain the full marks. Let's take a typical example in social studies. You want to explain one of the advantages of a country having a mining industry. One of the answers would be that it creates employment for miners or engineers and other persons. If you just say that mining creates employment for people, such an answer becomes a short or incomplete answer, and so you cannot obtain the full marks for it. However, if you write an answer like mining creates jobs for engineers, accountants, and other administrative officers, these employees earn money which they use to take care of their families, then we can say that your answer is conclusive or complete and self-explanatory. And so if you don't provide such answers in the exam hall, the examiner will not be ready to give you full marks because the answer is just not complete. The second mistake students make in the exams hall is their failure to use the right vocabularies when answering examination questions. Now, every subject and every topic has specific vocabularies that the student must be aware of, and the examiner expects to see some of these words in the answers you provide. These vocabularies go to inform the examiner that you know the facts. And so if you write your answers for a particular question and you are unable to use the right vocabulary, what it means is that your answer may be right, however, you may not earn all the full marks. One way to deal with this is to make sure that each topic that you learn, you are able to identify the key words in them. Learn how they are spelled and how they are written or used in answering such questions, so that in your attempt to provide answers to such questions that relate to these vocabularies or topics, answers forth the right way so that you can earn the full marks. If you fail to do this, you may lose marks for not using some specific terms in your answers. Third mistake students make in the exams hall, which leads to their failure or which makes them score low marks, is the failure to plan. You cannot make good marks in an exam or in answering an exam question if you don't plan what you intend to write. So for every question, ask yourself, what are the answers I am going to explain? And jot them down on your question paper or on the last page of your answer booklet and cross through that particular section. Now that you know the point you are going to explain, you have now planned your answers. You cannot take each of the points and develop them. If you don't do this and you start writing your answers directly from your mind, there's a possibility that you will forget some of the points you intended to raise. Once you forget them, you will not be able to explain them either. And that means that you're going to lose marks for those points. Always plan your answers. If you fail to plan your answers, you will fail to obtain the desired or required marks for each of the answers you provide. Another mistake students make in the exams hall is their inability to manage time properly. Very often, the exams may be a 2-hour paper or a 3-hour paper. If you are supposed to answer 5 questions in section B, make sure you give time to the number of questions you are going to answer. For instance, if 4 questions are required to be answered in 2 hours, it means that each question requires that you use 30 minutes to answer it. Now, these 30 minutes must be further broken down into 5-20-5. The first 5 minutes is for planning. The next 20 minutes is for answering the questions. And the last 5 minutes is for reading through your answers to make the necessary corrections. If you fail to plan and manage your time very well, you will end up either spending too much time on a question, which means that you have less time for other questions. In the end, the time will be up and you will have a lot of things you have not done properly in the exams hall. If you cannot read through your work, if your time has elapsed and you are supposed to hand over and you have not answered some of the questions, indirectly, it means that you're going to score low marks at the end of the exam because you are going to lose all the marks relating to the questions you failed to answer because of your poor time management skills. One thing you can do to make sure that you keep yourself within time is to always have your personal wrist watch or a watch with you in the exams hall. Each time you start answering a question, watch the time and let your mind be informed as to when you are going to finish answering that particular question. This way, as you go along, you check your time. Once you realize that you are getting closer to the end of the time allotted to that question, you can wrap up, pause, and go to the next question. Very often, when you start a new question, answering a new question, you are likely to earn more marks than trying to complete an old question you are struggling with. And so make sure you manage your time well in the exams hall, and that will help improve your score. Go into the exams hall with the intention to do well. However, whilst they are answering questions, they make a mistake of not providing relevant examples. Examples you provide as you explain points go to further inform the examiner that you understand the facts, or you have the facts and you know what you're talking about. Your examples could be graphs, they could be diagrams that further illustrate what you are explaining. In some instances, your example would be just mentioning a few things that relate to what you are talking about. For instance, if you are talking about rivers in Ghana, you could be mentioning examples or giving examples such as River Pra, River Densu, River Bia. However, if it's an economics question, you would have to also add graphs or diagrams that further illustrate. If it is an integrated science question and the answer requires that you further explain with diagrams or graphs or a sketch, go ahead and do this because they add to the mark you score. If you fail to do this, it's a mistake, and what it means is that you're going to lose all the marks that you should have scored by giving those examples. Hence, watch it. Give relevant mistakes each time you are answering questions in the exams. So sometimes students are in a hurry to either complete questions or to start answering new questions. In their attempt to do this, they may even forget to number their answers. So if you make a mistake of not numbering your answers, the examiner will not be able to tell which question you are answering. Again, if you are answering questions and you number the answers wrongly, it's not marking your scripts to correct these mistakes for you. And know that very often examiners are paid based on the number of scripts they mark. So they may not have time checking all these things. So your question 1A is numbered as question 1B, or your question 1A is numbered as your question 2A. Once you make this mistake, the examiner is likely to match your answer against question 2A instead of matching your answer against question 1A. In the end, you are going to lose marks, although the answers are correct. And so make sure eligible, or they should be big enough, or they should be visible so that the examiner can see them. Check the question you have answered and match it against the answers before you submit your papers so that you don't lose marks and make funny mistakes. Another mistake some students make, which sometimes is intentional, is that they create their own questions in the exams hall. This student is attempting to answer, let's say, question 1. He or she cannot answer question 1B, cannot answer question 1C, but can answer question 2B and question 2C. And so he or she creates a new question by putting the sub-questions he or she can answer from the various questions together. So question 1A, he or she can answer, he picks or she picks. Question 2C, he or she can answer, he picks. He or she can answer question 3C, he picks. He can answer question 4D, he picks. He puts all these A, B, C, D from question 1, 2, 3, and 4 together and answers it. There is no question like that in the exams hall. This is a big mistake you are making. And once the examiner detects that you are picking some of the questions from the main questions to answer and not answering them as required in the exams, you are going to lose marks. In the end, they may even cross through all the answers you have provided because there's no question that matches the answers you have provided in that form. So don't reset your own questions in the exams hall. Instead, answer the questions. Once that you cannot answer, leave a space for them and go answer the rest. Whilst answering the rest, be thinking about the kind of answers you're supposed to provide for those questions you have hanging. This way, you are likely to do well than just choosing questions from the various major questions and putting them together to create your own question. Please do not do this. It will lead to your failure in the exams. Another mistake many students make in the exams hall, which leads to their failure, is that they fail to read through their answers. This problem or mistake is very often as a result of poor time management, which we have explained earlier. Once you read through your answers, very often you will see spelling mistakes, you will see grammatical errors, you are going to see omissions, answers that are not complete but you know. Once you identify these things as a result of reading through your answers, you can correct them. This way, you save yourself from losing marks. However, if you manage your time poorly, or you waste so much time in answering questions and you have little time to read through your answers, once the examiner is reading and he or she identifies grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, and omissions as far as the completeness of your answer is concerned, then you are going to be penalized. So it simply means you will not earn all the full marks you deserve for such explanations. In the end, it all boils down to what? Losing valuable scores in that exam. Students who fail to read questions they intend to answer carefully can make very disturbing mistakes. If you fail to read the question carefully, you may get a wrong understanding or an understanding that is different from what what the examiner expects you to have. What this leads to is deviation. To deviate simply means you are providing answers all right, but the answers are not the exact ones required for the question you are really answering. In the end, you are going to lose nearly all the marks for that question. Once you deviate, very often the score is 0. If you do this in the exams, you are going to lose marks, and at the end your scores will be low. Read the questions carefully, know what the question is about before you attempt to answer them. The final mistake that you need to know about is the desire or the wish to give up so early. Some students, after reading a question or the questions in the exam hall, may realize that they don't really know the answers required. The moment you don't know the answers required, the best thing to do is to stay calm. Probably breathe in and out and tell yourself, I will give my best. Start thinking about the answer or the answers you are supposed to give. If you don't do this and you throw your hands in the air or you give up, say, these exams, I cannot answer these questions, I am going to fail. If you start making such comments, you are indirectly getting ready for failure. So avoid anything that will be negative and would have a negative influence on your mind or your thoughts, which would indirectly affect the answers you provide. Let's avoid these mistakes. Let's give our best in the exams, and we will end up scoring the best of marks in our impending exams. We hope you have learned a lot. Don't forget, click on our notification button. Keep learning. This is Ghana Education News. Find us on Ghana Education